everybody, I have a Halloween special for you. We're going to talk about Dracula by Bram Stoker. This book was published in 1897. Looking at my notes right here. 1897. The edition that I have is a Barnes & Noble edition, so it has some notes in it. The notes, I didn't really use them. Like every time they mentioned a place, they had to go into the notes and tell you, oh, this is on the north side of London, or this is over in Transylvania, and blah, blah, blah. I didn't care about that. It kind of took me out of the story every time it tried to reference something. So if you don't have the references, that's fine. I mean, Google is your friend, so if you don't know what they're talking about, you can always Google it, okay? So I'm not going to try to tell you the story over again. Most folks are familiar with Dracula, at least in pop culture. So what's interesting about this book is in the way that it was told. It was told through journal entries and diary entries and letters between folks. So it's very interesting that it was told in that way for a book at this time. So in the old-timey days, in the 1800s, they had like a record player that had a cylinder, and you can record on the cylinder. And so one of the characters records on the cylinder, and then later on somebody comes and transcribes that and puts it into Word format, you know, on a piece of paper. So the story centers around, of course, Dracula. Centers around Jonathan Harker, Mina, his fiancée, Lucy, Mina's childhood friend, and three men that came to propose to Lucy. So we have Dr. John Seward, who runs an insane asylum, Mr. Quincy P. Morris. So Mr. Quincy Morris, who's from Texas, and Arthur Holmwood. These are the gentlemen that are in love with Lucy, but she's only in love with one of them, Arthur. Talks about a guy named Renfield. Renfield is not like what you see in films. In pulp culture, he didn't have anything to do with helping Dracula do anything. Okay, he was in an insane asylum. He could feel Dracula for some reason. It doesn't explain that Dracula like showed up at the insane asylum and said, "Hi, my name is Dracula and I'll give you whatever you want." He starts telling Dr. Seward, you know, Master's coming and he's going to change everything. So Dr. Seward is very interested in whatever's going on with Renfield. So he's always talking to him, always interviewing him, and then recording his interviews. So they go on talking about, they start in Transylvania and they end up back in London because, of course, Dracula bought some property there. He's got like 3 or 4 different properties in and around London. And he has these big giant boxes of dirt. I don't know if these boxes of dirt are all like coffins or what. They're described as boxes. So if you imagine a big old crate of dirt, and Dracula needs to have that dirt from his homeland or he's going to lose his power. So he's got a whole ton of these things that he keeps at all his different residences. He has more than enough. More than enough. He's got like 50 boxes. I think I said that already. He uses them as his bed. That's where he goes nights. One part of the story, which I don't know why it was in there, but Bram Stoker has Mina and Lucy go to a cemetery that's in the town of Whitby in England. They like to go there and look over the water. So you can see over the water, you can watch the sunset, all this kind of stuff, but it's right smack in the middle of a cemetery, and there is an abbey there that's no longer used. The abbey is real. The cemetery is a real place. Mina and Lucy take like daytime walks, so they're walking around the town just to get exercise and get out of the house, I guess. And they meet up with a guy, I think his name was Swales. He's an old sailor, and he starts chatting it up with the ladies and starts telling them stories about the cemetery. And he says, you know, hey, the bodies are not in the cemetery. They're all lost at sea. The families can't stand it, so they put a grave anyway with a marker on it, and all the tombstones say really wonderful things about the deceased. In fact, they are sitting on top of a memorial stone for one such deceased person who did not die at sea. He jumped off a cliff, and his mother couldn't stand it, so she put on the memorial stone, you know, all kinds of positive things about this poor guy, because for some reason their deaths reflect on the parents or on the family members. I don't know. Mr. Swales says that the dead have to come back and get their get their gravestone, their markers, and take to God when it's judgment to show them what kind of a person they were. They're showing that he's gonna show what? This is what other people thought of them. Doesn't God already know what kind of person they were? Like, what? Why would they just go running back? Oh, I gotta go get my tombstone. And it really doesn't have anything to do with the story at all. At no point in the story is Dracula showing up at the cemetery going, there's no bodies. What am I gonna do? So it's like, why? Why are we talking about this cemetery so much? Okay, fine. It's a place that they want to go visit, but we don't need to know details about it if it has nothing to do with the story, right? I don't know. At one point, Lucy gets very ill because Dracula is feeding off of her. And Dr. Seward, who has been called to help her, because he's, of course, in love with her and they're friends and all that kind of stuff. So he helps, and he's like, this is beyond anything that I can do. I need to call my friend in Denmark. And his friend in Denmark is Dr. Van Helsing. So Dr. Van Helsing comes like right away. And he starts figuring out what's going on. And it's like the man has some kind of a, like, he's got an idea of what's going on, but he won't tell anybody what the idea is no matter what. So he shares stuff with Dr. Seward, but it's nothing to do with nothing. It's just, yeah, I have an idea. Let's try this. I think I know what's going on. Let's do this. Come on, Dr. Van Helsing, can you share? Are you scared that they won't believe you? I mean, they can't figure out what it is, so they might believe anything at this point. And they certainly do want to save poor Miss Lucy. In and throughout the story, they talk about vampire bats feeding off of cattle. Now, vampire bats don't live in London. However, they could have come in on a ship. Somebody could have accidentally brought one in with their cargo and didn't know it. I mean, that's how rats got around, different spiders get around, that kind of thing. So they think that, or at least some of the farmer people are like, yeah, there's vampire bats, they're sucking their cattle dry. So this is like a hint that's thrown at you in the story of what might be happening to Miss Lucy. Lucy ends up becoming a vampire without even sucking anybody's blood. Like, all the pop culture shows that you have to drink Dracula's blood or the vampire's blood before you can become a vampire yourself. But she didn't. She became a vampire when she died. It's really weird. We learned that the word Nosferatu is actually Romanian for undead. That's all it means. Sometimes you'll see pop culture reference Nosferatu, and it's almost like it's the name of the vampire. It's not. It's just what they call the undead people, and we're not talking about like zombies, but you know, like in Walking Dead or something. But they're just that's what they call the undead, and there's a lot of superstition surrounding the undead in this story. So at one point, I should say, Dr. Van Helsing starts spilling his secrets. He's like, okay, so there are stories around the world of vampires, of undead, and these are the things that these undead can do. So he starts going into that, and he says that Dracula can appear at will. He can direct storms. He can direct the fog and the thunder. He can grow and shrink. He can command the meaner things. So what are the meaner things? Rats, owls, bats, moths, foxes, and wolves. Vampires can also vanish. They just, boop, 1 minute they're there and the next minute they're not. They do not leave a reflection. They do not have a shadow. They are very strong. In fact, in the book, they keep talking about how at some point Dracula started moving his boxes himself. He hired a bunch of people to do it for him, but it was much faster for him because he has the strength of 20 men. He can become a mist, but he can't envelop like a whole town. He can envelop parts of the town where he is immediately in, but he himself can become a mist. He can also become specks in the moonlight. So if you've ever watched, the moon stream into a room and you see those little dust specks in there, that could be a vampire, according to Van Helsing. They can see in the dark without any light, so they almost have cat eyes where they can see, without light at all. But vampires are not free to do as they please. They cannot just take up residence anywhere. They have to have permission before they can go in. So can you imagine Dracula buying these properties and going, hey, I want to see the property. Can you let me in? And they're like, just go in. It's empty. Go in. But Dracula can't do that. He has to have permission. And then once he has permission, he can go in as often as he wants, whenever he wants. Now there's, I don't know why this is cracking me up so much, but Van Helsing says that he can only pass running water, like, so he can only go over the ocean, or he can go over a river, like cross a bridge or something, if it is during the high tide or the low tide. So Dracula must be very familiar with tidal times. He must know what is going on all the time. He becomes powerless with garlic or crucifix. He becomes powerless, or his power stops at daybreak. So that's probably where we get the idea that vampires cannot walk around during the day. They can. They just don't have any power. So they don't burn up. Dracula appeared during broad daylight, and it was a very warm day when he appeared, and nothing happened to him. He went about his day like anybody else. Van Helsing says he can only change himself at noon or exact sunrise or sunset. And I'm reading from my notes, if you can't tell. You can keep him in his coffin if you put a branch of wild rose on top. He can't get out. Well, I'm like, if you caught him in his coffin, that means he sleeps. You can go in there and take him out, right? Right? I mean, why would you want to keep him in there? A sacred bullet fired into his coffin will kill him. So maybe you don't have to open it. You just fire into it. But then you got to be careful, because some coffins have like lining, some kind of metal lining. Sometimes it's lead, sometimes it's other kind of linings, and the bullet might not actually go through. I don't know what they mean by a sacred bullet. Does it have to be blessed by the Pope? Because Van Helsing's running around with like 5,000 pieces of wafer from the Holy Catholic Church, and all of those wafers have been blessed by the Pope, and he uses them, and so maybe it has to be blessed by the Pope to be a sacred bullet? Doesn't really say in the book. Decapitation will definitely kill him. Now, they don't say that stabbing him in the heart with a wooden stake will kill him. In fact, they don't use a wooden stake at all. They use a sword. Just a sword, and stabbed him in the heart. But they did that to immobilize him, and then, or vampires, and then chopped off the head. He is of a great and noble race of Draculas. So Dracula in the story is a family name. They're noble people, they're noblemen, and they're all very smart, they're compassionate, all of this kind of stuff. But there are times where somebody will get it in their head that they want to know more. They want to be more powerful than they actually are. And so in Romania, there is a school of nature. I cannot pronounce this. Sholamans? It's a school for learning, I guess, black arts. The book talks about how 9 students will graduate, but the 10th one is the devil's. And apparently Dracula was the 10th one. So he became the devil's, and that's why he's a vampire. Doesn't really explain how he became a vampire, why he did it. Why did he want to learn the dark arts? Doesn't say. So the narrative just goes on and on and on and on about them trying to figure out what Dracula is and how to find him and who he's attacking. But they only identify 2 people, and they're both women, that Dracula attacked, and that was Mina and Lucy. There's no motive given why it's those people. Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's like, why is he going over after these 2 people? Why did he decide to buy a house in London? You know, that's right next to an insane asylum. What? He's got nobody he can turn back home? And back home in Count Dracula's castle, there are 3 women who are also vampires, and they just hang out there. You know, it's like, why is it only women? He's not turning any men. So it's like, why is he picking, and then particularly, why is he picking these 2? Why did he choose them? Eventually, the group decides that they're going to sanctify all of Dracula's boxes. So they boxes of dirt. So they have accounted for all of Dracula's boxes, which is very interesting because he only has like 3 homes in London, and there's 50 boxes. Did he put like, I can't do math, a bunch of boxes in each of the homes? Or what? So they sanctify them with the holy wafers that, as I said before, were blessed by the Pope. And Dracula has 1 box left. And since all of his safe havens in London have been sanctified, so he can't use those boxes of dirt anymore, he decides to go back home to Transylvania. And he slips inside his box, hires a ship, goes back home. Mina, Jonathan, Dr. Seward, Morris, Van Helsing, and Arthur all decide that they are going to go too, as they figured that he was going to go back to Transylvania, and so they're all going to go there too and try to kill him. And the end of the book is so anticlimactic. It's like, I read all of this stuff, all of this, for Van Helsing to go, I think I know what it is, I think I know what it is, hey, I think I know what it is, but not telling anybody what it is until it's almost, the book's almost over. And then, when they catch up to Dracula, they kill him just in the nick of time. It's like easy peasy. It's like, I thought he was going to put up more of a fight. What? That's it? That's all it took? You just got mad and went over there and went, and that was it? Done. Come on. Bram. We could have learned so much about Dracula. Instead, we're going on a wild goose chase, and all these people are talking about what they think is happening, and Van Helsing somehow has it figured out, but he won't tell anybody. And it took this whole book to get Dracula. Like, okay. So, yeah. It's not a bad book. It's not a bad book, okay? There's nothing wrong with it. You will get something out of reading it. You will notice that it's a lot different from pulp culture shows and TV shows and stuff like that. Bram Stoker's Dracula, it was a film in the 90s starring Gary Oldman as Dracula. They did a really good job of sticking to what happens in the book. Okay, they changed some things up. So in the book, Dracula is not Vlad the Impaler. Okay, Vlad the Impaler was probably a pretty good choice to use for the story in the movie, because we can see why maybe he decided to go to the dark side. But in the book, there's no reason. It doesn't really explain. It's like, okay, Dracula, you went to this school. Did you know what was going to happen? Did you know you were the 10th person, that you were going to belong to the devil and you were going to walk at night and eat people? Was it worth it? Was it worth it to you? So having some kind of a redemption for him, that would have been good. And technically, yeah, there was redemption because he was killed and his soul was released. That was a big theme in the book, that they released Lucy's soul when they killed her after she turned, that sort of thing. I would have liked some redemption. Another thing that bothered me was, did this author not know where London was? Because London is in England, and England is an island. Does he know that islands are surrounded by water? Because Jonathan Harker goes to Transylvania to do the paperwork for one of Dracula's homes. So the very first home that Dracula purchased, Harker has to go there and do the paperwork and then help him learn English and all that kind of stuff. Great. You know how he goes? By train. Train. He goes by train. Over water. Now, there's a tunnel that exists today that can take you from London to France. This was 1800s. There was no tunnel. How'd they get over the water? And then when the whole gang decides to go after Dracula at his house, Dracula takes a ship all the way home. Of course he would. There's water. There's no way to get there. Everybody else takes a train. How? How did they take a train? no roads. Was the English Channel like you could skip across it or something at the time? I don't think so. So yeah, those are a couple things that I have issues with the story. Is we don't understand why Dracula does what he does because we don't have a POV of him. We don't have any letters from him. He is said to write letters, but we don't see them. So we get nothing from his point of view. Of course, by the time the story starts, Dracula is already a vampire. So it may have not done any good. Like, I doubt he was thinking about, why did I do this? I don't think he was thinking about that. But it would have been nice to see some backstory on him and why he chose to do what he did. As I said, was it worth it to him? So go to your library. If you want a nice Halloween read, it's not gory, it's not horrifying. Some of the ideas about vampires is horrifying, but this isn't, I mean, it's considered gothic horror, but to me it wasn't horrifying. Go out there, go to your library, pick up this book. You might be able to borrow it from a friend. Go check out a book, read it. Go to the library though. Okay, your library's free, at least here in America. You can go and check out a book. All you need is a library card, and that's your ticket to the world. And if you decide that you love Dracula, go ahead and get you a copy. Okay? I bought this book a very long time ago. I wanted to read Dracula for myself, and I had seen all the movies and all that kind of stuff. But I wanted to read the book for myself, the source material. So I bought it because I like classic literature anyway. So I bought it. When I read it at that time, I was really mad. I was thinking, this book isn't that great. You didn't even kill Dracula the way that you said he could be killed, right? And that is because when I read it, I didn't pay attention to all the things that Van Helsing said. It may have been that I thought, well, I know how to kill Dracula. I was wrong. Okay? On the reread, I was proven wrong, and that's okay. And it's on camera for the whole world to see. It's all right, though. I'm glad I reread it. It gave me some perspective. It gave me some things to think about with regard to pulp culture. Dracula is not a nice man. Okay? He's not handsome. I don't know why everyone romanticizes it. He goes out and he sucks people's blood and he doesn't care about them. Okay, he makes promises, but those promises aren't anything. They're just to get you to do what he wants you to do. Okay, I'm speaking of Renfield. But yeah, I like Dracula stories. It's alright. It's Halloween. Let's have some fun, right? Okay, go to your library, check out a book. Tell me down in the comments what you're reading. Give me ideas what you might suggest for me to read. I would love to do a review on it or even just to discuss it. If you read Dracula, let me know what you think. Did you find some of the stuff weird like I did? If you didn't, that's okay too. We don't have to agree on everything, okay? When you're down in the comments or even in your everyday life, be kind to yourself, be kind to each other. There's no reason to be mean, okay? Let's not be mean. And thank you for coming to see my Halloween special. Happy Halloween!